worried you can't get organized or that it might be too restrictive? These 3 myths might be stopping you from moving forward. Welcome back to the channel. Here we take all those productivity hacks, organizational hacks, and turn them into a system. If you are just starting your organizational journey, or maybe you've been productive for a while, but now you're at a standstill, it's easy to quit trying when we have the wrong perspective of what it means to be organized. In this video, we're gonna debunk 3 myths, but if you stay tuned, we'll debunk a bonus myth too. First myth that I hear a lot is that you are born organized or not. And I'm here to tell you the truth is, organization is a learned skill. Nobody is born organized, just like no one was born knowing how to walk or crawl or run. We all had to learn, myself included. I had to teach myself how to be organized. I grew up in a very messy household. Cleaning day was a big deal. No one used the trash can, no one used the laundry baskets. There was stuff everywhere all the time. And while I love my family dearly, most of them just have never learned how to be organized. So how did I learn to be organized? Well, I started with what I knew I didn't like. I started paying attention to all the things that they were doing and all the things that we had to do as a result, and decided what I didn't like. I hated having to spend hours cleaning, and that was just to pick up the trash and sort through the piles of stuff. I really hated that it took us so long to get out the doors because my mother lost her keys and we couldn't find the keys. It was super stressful to constantly have to stop and search for something that someone needed, and it was an entire household effort. Literally, one person would say, "I'm missing something, I need this, can we all help look?" And all of us, that's right, all 5 people in my household were expected to stop what they were doing and help that person out in finding what it was that they needed. Because I paid attention to those things that I didn't like, I started thinking about how I can change those things. I didn't like having to look for things, so it meant that things needed a home. As a result, I would start building homes for my things to make sure that I wasn't somebody who had to ask the household to stop what they were doing and help me find something because I lost it. Another thing that I did to help teach myself was I consistently read all the books I could possibly get my hands on around productivity, time management, organization, household cleaning. Yes, household cleaning. I literally read books on what cleaner to use for what surfaces and how to get other areas and nooks and crannies clean. Because I really thought that by learning all of this stuff, I would be able to change my trajectory from somebody who had grown up in a messy household and became a messy person to somebody who was grown up in a messy household and became an organized person. Because I really felt like that was where I wanted to be. I knew it was gonna save me time, and I knew it was gonna save me money in the long run. So learning all of those lessons that I learned in the books and reading and studying all of that stuff and applying it to my life has made a huge impact. Later, I got my first job as an accountant right out of college after getting my bachelor's. In this job, I actually had to create an entirely new role for what I was doing. And that required for me to develop all of the systems and processes that it took to make that person and that role successful. Because as I was moving up, I needed to make sure that the next person would be able to continue the work that I was doing. That's when I learned how to develop systems and processes. I was able to take all of those productivity tips, time management tips, and organizational tips and develop them into a comprehensive system. So no, being organized is not something we are born with. It is definitely something that we learn, which is great because it means you can learn too. The second myth I want to bust is that for something to be organized, it has to be aesthetically pleasing. The truth is, if something looks aesthetically pleasing, it's because one of 2 things has happened. Either 1, it is a byproduct of developing a system, so it just happens to look organized after you're done developing the system. Or 2, we actually made that a principle for the system. So one of the things that that system had to meet was to look aesthetically pleasing. I'm gonna share 3 different examples of what this looks like. The first example is my backpacking system. When I put my backpacking system together, I had 3 principles that had to be met for this system to work for me. The 3 principles my system had to meet was 1, I had to be able to grab the gear that I used for every single adventure quickly. The second principle was that I had to be able to pack for a backpacking or a camping trip in less than 30 minutes. So 20 to 30 minutes was my goal, to be able to get up, pack up, and head out. The third principle was that I had to be able to quickly grab gear for what I needed. So whether it was rock climbing, backpacking, car camping, or a paddleboard or kayaking adventure, I needed to be able to grab that gear quickly so that I can meet the second principle of being ready to head out in under 30 minutes. As a result of these principles, the way that I had to organize the system to be functional and meet those criteria, it just happens to look aesthetically pleasing. Another area that I organized where being aesthetically pleasing was a criteria, was a principle, is my linen closet. I wanted to be able to open up my linen closet and to have my guests open up the linen closet and have it look aesthetically pleasing, to have it look nice and pretty and organized. I wanted them to be able to quickly see what they needed and access that. It also had to meet the criteria for my 9-year-old, who needs to be able to access stuff that's at his level. So we had put the first aid kit, that's a quick first aid kit, down at an area where he can reach, while the main equipment is on the very top because we don't use it very often. We also rolled up the beach towels and put them nice because we don't use those very often, but the towels that we do use regularly are just gently folded. And my last example of something that is organized but it doesn't look aesthetically pleasing at all is my son's wardrobe. My son does not care what kind of top he wears, and he really honestly doesn't care what kind of bottoms he wears either. I'm usually the one directing him on whether it should be shorts or pants. So for him, his principles were that it had to be quick and easy for him to just grab whatever clothes he could, so shirt and bottoms, and then it had to be very easy for him to put away because he does his own laundry. So we met that criteria by organizing his clothes between the tops, the bottoms, the underwear, and the socks. If he's looking for a specific top, he would have a hard time. Thankfully, that's not a principle he set for himself because he doesn't care. Now that we've covered how organization doesn't have to look beautiful, let's talk into the third myth. And after that, if you stick around, I'll throw in that bonus myth too. The other myth that I hear is that being organized does not provide room for creativity. And I want to tell you, it's actually quite the opposite. While we feel like we're having to be more structured, we're actually freeing up our time and energy from things that we would otherwise be focused on. For example, if you have 15 different things floating around in your head that you've got to get done, and you're not bothering with a system, you're just trying to track them in your mind, how are you going to have space for new thoughts and ideas and remember those too? You'll want to develop a system for that, and a system means bringing in a level of organization. Now, the level of structure that you bring into your system is completely dependent on you. So for example, it might be a really good idea for things that are super important, things that you need to get done, appointments and meetings and things like that, to actually put those on your calendar. But if you find that you need more flexibility, when you get to that particular event or task that you scheduled and you were like, I'm in different creative mode, you can flex that. It turns out calendars are super flexible. We can change the date, we can change the time, we can change the location, heck, we can even change who we're meeting with. So please don't feel like having that level of structure is going to block your creativity. It's actually going to give you the room to be more creative. When you are not using your time and energy trying to remember everything or having to look for things that you didn't know where they were, you can absolutely spend that time and energy on developing something totally amazing. And guess what? The world needs that. So I would ask that you please give it a chance. You can absolutely build flexibility into your systems. It is totally doable. But definitely, the truth is that having systems and a level of organization actually gives you more space to be more creative. Before I share the bonus tip, comment below on what myth was stopping you from starting your organization or productivity project. And now we're on to the bonus myth that we are about to bust, and that myth is this: organized people always have it together. I'm a very organized person, but my planning system is set up so that I would look at everything that was going on in the morning instead of the night before. And when I started scheduling early morning meetings, I missed them. I didn't show for 2 of them, complete no show, no response. After that, I adjusted the system, but my point is that even when you're organized, you can still have things happen. And this doesn't just happen to me. This happens with organized clients that I work with in my CPA firm. It also happens with friends who are extremely organized. The fact is that developing systems doesn't take the human out of us. We are still human and we're still going to make mistakes. And so if you are someone who is on your journey and you make a mistake, I think it's just good to give yourself a little bit of grace, because the reality is the most professional, put together, highly organized person still makes mistakes. I hope some of this myth busting helped helps you and your journey to get organized. And it is a journey, and it's just one step at a time. If you want to learn how to develop successful systems and processes, check out the link below to my free ebook. And you got this far in the video, if you could give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Thank you.